Hello, everyone. Welcome to Masters in Travel. I'm your host, Whitney. Many times throughout history of Masters in Travel sounds funny to say, but I feel like the topic of host agencies has come up a wide variety of times. What is a host agency? How to find the right host agency? What to look for? What questions to ask? How to compare one host to another? How to know when to change? What you should be thinking about and considering if you want to change or when you want to change. Um, do you need a host agency for the entire life of your travel business? I think that at some point we've talked about all of these things, but it's likely scattered and dripped in and throughout a whole variety of different episodes. There is one in particular that we replayed this summer with Steph from Host Agency Reviews. And I got an email afterwards, which is a lovely welcome email that honestly, I get very excited when emails come in saying, "Hi, this is who I am, and I have some thoughts on your recent conversation. Would you be open to a different perspective?" And my response is always immediately, "Yes, absolutely." Multiple exclamation points. When are you available? So today, truly, because I think that's what I always wanted when starting this podcast is, I felt like I was in a bubble of sorts in my small little community that I was in back in the day and that particular host agency that I was with. And then I would go to conferences or FAMs or events, and suddenly I was outside of my bubble and there were all of these differing ideas and thoughts and opinions and perspectives. And I certainly didn't agree with all of them, but I was interested in all of them. I was always like wanting to hear, well, like, what do you think about this? Okay, well, I'm definitely not doing that, but I value your thoughts. Thank you. It's like you take it all in, you absorb, you mush it around, and then you decide what's for you, and then you move on, right? So today we have Margaret Hayes-Wolf, who is the Director of Advisor Development at Brownell, to talk with us about a different perspective. And she reached out specifically to say, I love the conversation you had with Steph. I agree with everything you guys shared. And also, sometimes there is a case for more experienced advisors to stick with the host agency through the life of their business. I believe. Tell me if I'm like mixing up your thoughts and perspectives here.
Wait.
Sometimes there are situations where we can't just say, well, once you reach a certain point, you don't need a host agency anymore. Either find the one that gives you the best commission split and or go get your own IATA. I think that might be kind of what we alluded to in a previous conversation. And today we're going to chat with Margaret about there's another option. Some host agencies out there are seeking opportunities to support more experienced advisors on a higher business level. And while that's not for everyone, that is for some people. And it is an additional option to consider as your business grows and scales and as you gain experience. So that's quite the introduction. Margaret, welcome to Masters in Travel.
Thank you so much for having me. No, you nailed it. It was so funny because the rewind episodes, we listen to a lot of your episodes, and I think they are so thoughtful and great. And what an amazing response to feeling like you were in a bubble is to just put yourself out there and engage and bring people on. And all the conversations are so helpful. And a lot of our advisors love them. And so we had listened to that rewind episode. And it got me thinking. And I was like, I wonder if they'd be open. These people are so smart and so wonderful. And we love Steph with HAR. And I was like, I wonder if they'd be open to this idea. Because we spend a lot of time talking about education for new advisors. And I think it's something our mentoring program is something that we're known for. And we're very proud of that. But we spend a lot of time talking with the advisors that we have that have been in the game for a while and are successful. And there's a lot to how we operate that I think other similar agencies also operate that can be beneficial. So exactly right. I don't think it's for everybody, but I just wanted to yes and your conversation.
Love it. Love it. I learned so much from, I don't want to necessarily say like a disagreement or a differing opinion because that has like a negative tone to it. And that's not what I mean at all. I genuinely am like seeking conversations where I share like a thought or an idea and somebody's like, well, have you thought about this?
Right.
Like that is genuinely like I am leaning into that conversation because I am always so excited when I leave a conversation and be
Mhm.
like, wow, they really just presented an idea or a thought or an opinion that I hadn't even considered. And it's not even about whether I agree with it or not, or whether I'm
Right.
going to implement it. Sometimes I do. Sometimes it's like, that just changed everything. And other times it's like, I'm not going to do anything different, but that additional perspective is like added context,
Yes. Or it
which I feel
bolsters
is
what you already thought. I think it's so naive to think that you can go through your life and just know all the things or that you don't need differing opinions. I think to get so comfortable that you don't have people that are challenging you is just such a mistake if you ever want to grow. I don't know. I love it. I agree. I think it's so exciting and it keeps life interesting.
so. Let's take a step back first. Tell me a little bit about your experience in the industry, your current role, your responsibilities, how you're engaging with advisors. Give us a little background.
Absolutely. And I can ramble, so please stop me if we need to go a different
Okay.
direction. But I've grown up around the industry. It's funny because I think a lot of people don't realize that travel advisors still exist. And I've always known that. So it's interesting to me when you're out in the wild and people don't understand what this is, but I've kind of always been in it. But I actually started out after graduating. I worked for a tour operator. I was specialized in Southern Africa travel for several years, and I loved it. And it was so much fun. It was a different style than leisure, FIT travel, but I learned so much. I had great people around me, and I was very fortunate to be able to travel to Southern Africa a lot. And that's where I met someone that offered me a job that would take me to move to Botswana. And I was very excited. I was, young and unencumbered, unhindered. And I thought that would be a
Mhm.
move. And that was in March of 2020. So things went a little sideways from there. And I did work for them remotely for about a year and a half. But I ended up in that intervening time, Brownell needed some help on their incentives team. And I started dating my now husband and moved to Texas and started working with Brownell. And so I joined the advisor development team from incentives 3 or 4 years ago, 3 years ago,
Mhm.
and joined Carrie Dyer's team and have since, I started as a coordinator and over time have now become director of advisor development. My primary role that probably we all wear many hats, but I spend a lot of time with our new advisors that are brand new to the industry, um, and also doing our recruiting with any advisors that inquire about our programs. I speak to all of them, which I love, and then several other hats and things. I help with our partners team and marketing teams on various projects, and also any of our graduates from our programs often call for coaching or help or therapy, which is also takes up a lot of my
Is
time.
that included?
Yeah, it is. Yes, one of my bullet points, Wendy.
I love that. So I know that Brownell has won many awards
Mhm.
for your trainings and mentorship programs. I don't know the specifics of those programs. I'm familiar with the new to industry program that
Mhm.
you have because I stumbled on it myself when I was getting started. Do you also have other programs for advisors like as they progress along their journey, or is it that primary one just to get started?
That's a great question. And this isn't intentional, but you're getting a little bit of an Easter egg early view of yes, we
Oh,
are changing a little bit of the mentoring program. I promise this is
okay.
intentional. But the mentoring program is going through a little bit of a facelift, which will be launching in January in the new year. But we had a beta group and it's just a little bit of a change. So the program is now 9 months and it's actually called Brownell Startup because we felt like
Okay.
mentoring was kind of a misnomer. Sounded like a
Yeah.
one-to-one pairing, but it's really much more like an MBA or a tech, like a startup incubator. Um,
Love it.
so very excited, and graduates felt like they were ready at 9 months instead of 12, and so we thought let's deliver that. So it's now a 9 month program. It is still for new to the industry people, and it is still a full time commitment. It's a lot of work. We're probably the most intensive of how much we front load
Yes.
that
Yes.
off hit the ground running, but that's for new to the industry. That is still built on the same bones, the same infrastructure as it was when it started in 2006. So that is the program I think we're most known for. Then, of course, we do bring in advisors that are established from other host agencies. We've had a couple that have just joined us recently, and they come in. We do a little bit of training at our headquarters in Birmingham, just so they get to know the feel and the people and the systems. But pretty much most of them feel pretty ready to go and don't need a ton of training. So I do a couple of sessions with them, like over Zoom, to make sure that they feel good and just catching any questions that they've got when they first start. But the other program that I think we're less known for, that is in the middle somewhere, when people have been in the industry for a few years, maybe one or two, they've kind of built themselves up. They've got the client base, but they don't have the systems or the coaching or maybe the partnerships that they need. And so they want a little bit of training, a little bit of diagnostics on what they need. And that called Catalyst. It's a 6-month program, and it is, we don't do all the kind of language and discussion of what is the industry. We kind of pass that, and we're really talking about what's your sales process, what are your systems, all of that. So that was a very long answer, but those are the 3 programs that we have for advisors.
And the Catalyst could be something that someone who goes through the 9-month program eventually steps into down the road? Or is it mostly for people joining you when they're no longer at square one?
Yes, it's for people joining us that are from a different agency, no longer at square one. I think we've not ever had anybody that's come through mentoring or startup need additional training like that. So
well, that speaks volumes for those original 9 months.
Yeah, I think so. I stand on the shoulders of giants, but it is a very thoughtful and thoughtfully crafted program. It's very thorough. And so we've not ever had somebody need both. And I suppose you could, by being a Brownell advisor, you get access to all the things that we crystallize into that Catalyst program. So I don't think you would need it, even if you needed any one of those elements.
So I guess now this begs the question. This conversation started because there are a couple options that an experienced advisor can consider is, do I switch host agencies to enhance a commission split because I don't need as much support?
Right.
Do I consider getting my own IATA? And what you would like to add to the conversation is, do you stay in a host agency or potentially move? Because not all host agencies are supporting experienced advisors in a way that is meaningful. So this still could mean move. But I think it's move with a different mindset, right? Like a move as an experienced advisor could be like strictly financial. I'm looking for a great commission split. I don't feel like I need a lot of support. And your move that you're kind of proposing is move to a host agency that is actively supporting experienced advisors in a way that you really can't find anywhere else. So talk to me a little bit more about what that looks like, because I think when you originally reached out, I thought it was like a program, because Brownell's known for your mentoring programs. But what you're describing now is that it's not a program necessarily. Is it just more like built into what Brownell is?
Yes. And I want to also share, so this is all assuming that someone is looking to make a move. I do think there are many ways to go about this, and I completely agree with you. I think the other 2 routes are totally viable, and it's more, I just wanted to present a third option because some people feel like those are their only 2, and that this is kind of a different thought. And I will also say we're very fortunate in this industry that there are many excellent agencies, all have different styles. And while I can speak confidently and competently about Brownell, I do think there's other agencies that are similar in their model, maybe different sizes, et cetera. But I'll talk about Brownell, but I do think this is applicable for others as well that are service-based agencies and that are business-minded in this way.
Yeah, I think I'm really happy that you're bringing up the topic, because I'm with Jet Set, and they're also supporting advisors at higher levels of revenue in a really meaningful way, and in a different way than they're serving the new advisors or the in-between kind of, not new, but not yet super high revenue numbers. So I think just bringing up the topic in general is also so valuable, to just simply say, hey, this is out there. And not only is it out there, there are options. It's not just like one agency is doing this, so take it or leave it. It's like, if you are an experienced advisor and if you're looking for more support that may help you I guess I want you to answer the rest of this
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
When, instead of me filling in the blanks, when an experienced advisor remains with a host agency like Brownell, and so they're no longer needing the definitions of what things are in the industry, maybe their business is at like a very, very positive level, like for all intents and purposes, success, congratulations, like your revenue is incredible, you have a great book of business, your systems are unlocked, you've got great supplier
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah.
What is the type of support that Brownell is seeking to provide or is equipped to provide to these advisors? And then what kind of what kind of result are you seeing coming out of that that may not have come if the advisor was trying to do that themselves?
Absolutely.
Is that a well-formulated question?
It sure is. It actually, and thank you. That teased me up very nicely. No, I think so. I have a couple of thoughts and some bullets that when I initially sent the email, I kind of sketched out these ideas, but I also have continued to noodle on it since then, just in anticipation of this conversation. So I think that one of the key things is having real people to talk to that know who you are and that care about your success and are business minded. It can make a huge difference in advisors' like professional well-being. I think this industry can be isolating and you end up on your own, or you've crafted a network on your own that you're kind of maintaining. And that takes a lot of energy. And you can, in the spirit of what we initially were talking about, of different ideas, different exposure, different business models, to maintain that and to make sure you're getting fresh input and different concepts, that can be very difficult to do on your own. And if you're someone that benefits from different perspectives, having an agency that is tight knit, that has that, I hate community gets so overused, but it is true, that connected community, just the ambient environment can be so much, can be so helpful and so beneficial just for people to feel confident and to feel like they've got a lot of support beyond the agency itself, but also all the advisors that are in it with you. I think that makes a big difference. I also think that having people that can help you with your overall business strategy. I mean, this is much more what we provide, but that we can have a call where we talk about, okay, I'm feeling stagnant. My margins are this, and we've got great visibility with our software into what your margins are and kind of a lot of stats and things. So we can dig into that and talk about where can you go from here? What are things you can lean into? Okay, you love doing FITs, but you actually make a lot more money on cruise. Is it worth it to you?
This is my current soapbox.
Exactly. But that may not make sense. We don't necessarily want everyone to grow if they don't want to, but if you want to, we're happy to talk with you about those things. And we also know a bit about your life. And so we know the other things. Okay, your kids are going to college. You're going to have more time to do XYZ. Maybe you can start thinking about hosting some group trips or something like that, that the people that know you could just get a lot farther faster. And to that end, we are split-based agencies, not for everybody, but the agency and the advisor are in it together. The better the advisor does, the better the agency does. So even beyond the emotional aspect of caring about your advisors, the agency is incentivized to continue to develop the resources and to continue to provide so that advisors continue to grow and have healthier margins, et cetera. So if you're paying a split, you should be getting matching support and resources, because our thought process is that you get what you pay for. And some people don't want that. They don't need it, and they're happy to pay a monthly fee. But I think those service-based agencies just have a bit more incentive to give you what you need to continue growing. I have a couple more points, but I don't know if you have thoughts so far, because I can
I have thoughts.
Yes.
Don't forget those points.
Okay.
But I think that you put the ball back in our court there with one of those comments that I think is really powerful. And that when you are with a split-based agency, expectations of what you receive from that agency should not wane. just because you feel like you have less questions on
Mhm.
which supplier to use and what does this mean and where is my commission and
Yes.
how do I deal with this tough situation.
Yeah.
It just means that the support and the types of questions you ask and when you reach out for support that it looks different.
Mhm.
But I'm just I'm articulating all of this for the first time right
Yes.
now as I'm thinking about what you just said, because I think that it is a little bit of, I don't even know what the word, it's not an expectation, but it does kind of happen in the industry. It's like,
Mhm.
well, as you grow, you need less support, but the
Right.
host agency keeps taking that same 5, 10, 15% cut.
Mhm.
And it just is what it is. That's how the agency works. And I really appreciate that you're like, no,
No.
you're still paying,
Right.
10%, 15%, and that money is worth something. So you should still be expecting something in return from your host agency to meet you
Absolutely.
where you're at.
Absolutely. Re-engage. If they have the resources there, but you're not using them, like we do have people that don't really ever come to us for business plan or business reviews or anything like that. And they're happy. They have what they need, whatever. But if you find that you're frustrated, I think re-engaging, giving the agency the opportunity to answer, to give you what you need, can help you get to that next level without you kind of flailing around looking for how to solve the
Mhm.
problem or jumping right to moving host agencies. I've kind of circled all the way back around to giving
Right.
your host
I
agency.
think so. The moving host agencies topic is really, moving host agencies is not easy. Like
No.
it is cumbersome. Like
No.
it's not only cumbersome from the point of like stepping into a whole new organization, a whole
Mhm.
new community, all new systems, but it's also like now you have half your commissions over here and some over here and they're
Yeah.
getting sent to the wrong place. And it takes like a solid 6 months, if not a little bit more, to like find your footing and like
Mhm.
be on the new path. And so it is not a decision that anyone should make lightly.
No.
Um, and if there is a change, I think like advisors need to have kind of that 3 to 5 year plan in mind if there's
Yeah.
going to be a change. It can't just be this one small thing is different over here. So grass is greener. I'm jumping
Yes.
ship. Like it cannot be taken so lightly.
Mhm.
Um,
It
and
just
I just say that based on my experience switching, because it just there's a lot of things and it's a bit of a distraction from your business
oh
for
my
a
gosh,
good
yeah.
solid 6 months, right? Um,
Scary.
so, with this idea that the support for advisors should continue regardless of their stage in business, if
Mhm.
especially when we're in a split based commission structure, because it is a lot of money, right? Like if we just look at the numbers, I think that that's what a lot of experienced advisors kind of come down to, and they're like, "Whoa, that's." There are some zeros behind that number. And it is not a fair question, but it is the question on every
Yeah.
advisor's mind is
Mhm.
like, how do you put value on the business plan, strategy, community? Like, it's so hard because those things are so important. And one conversation can change everything for you.
Mhm.
And also, it's super intangible.
Yes, that is true. And Whitney, I feel like you're reading my mind because that is that's the next thought. Because it's all well and good to talk about these things that might make you feel better and feel more connected, and that's really difficult to put a number on. We have done lots of looks at when people come to us from another agency, how much do they grow? Do they grow? And we've done the math so many times, and on average, people grow about 100% in a year. Like they double their business in a year or two, which is crazy.
At all levels. So
Yeah.
like if they come in at half a
Well,
million versus coming in at 3 million, like where do you see?
yes. So 500,000 to about 2 or 3 million, we do find that you grow in revenue, not necessarily total volume. So there's a lot of things, and I'll talk about some of the things that I think go into that. Um, but we do find that in that band, we've not had many people come to us from another agency at the like higher than the 3 million. And the ones that we've had recently where we had the numbers to look at, we just haven't had enough time to know the
Yeah.
difference. But for those kind of that band that you were just talking about,
Yeah.
we do find,
Mhm.
and we did the math so many times, and one advisor actually emailed us to tell us that first. And she was like, my husband didn't believe me, but we ran the numbers so many times. And some of the things that I think
And
contribute to that. Oh, I'm sorry.
can I clarify what you're saying about the numbers is that It's not necessarily going from 1 million to 2 million,
Mhm.
but it might be going from $100,000 in revenue to $200,000 in revenue.
Yes. Yes.
It's profit. It's
Profit.
revenue in the door and profit.
Yes, exactly. And so a few things I think contribute to that. I do think initially that first diagnostic look at how are you operating things? Where are your bottlenecks? Are you charging the right fees? Are you charging fees that match the service that you're giving? Are you being consistent in charging your fees? That was one thing for one of our advisors that came over. She had a fee structure, but she wasn't charging it. And I was like, why? What is it that stops you? And now she charges fees. Her clients really appreciate it. And that has been a big part of getting it to be a sustainable business for her, where she has enough income to support the lifestyle that she wants. So that's one thing, is that identifying those areas that can be kind of low hanging fruit, easy wins. Also, Brownell as an agency and several others I know do this are very thoughtful in the partnerships that we choose. And we kind of intentionally work with a smaller segment of all of the on-sites that are out there, so that we are able to speak to the experience that your clients are going to have. We know that they deliver on the ground, and we are able to work out higher commissions in a lot of cases, but also in terms of speed of work, it cuts down the decision making time for a lot of advisors. We have a central database of all of this information. You can look up Italy and see who all of our preferred partners are. And it's easy information right there. You can see what budget levels they work with. And so you are not filtering through everything on your consortia's website or everything Google.com has to offer. You're able to move a lot faster and
Mm-hmm.
trust that you are working with partners that can deliver. Or if there's a mistake that happens, because we're all human, that we know the ownership, we know the leadership, and we can have recourse. So that thoughtful approach to partnership, I do think makes a huge difference in the commission levels, but also in your turnaround times, the I hate to say the overall spend of an itinerary, but that matches
Yeah.
experience
Yeah.
around, because the clients have to come home and be thrilled with their experience,
Yep.
travel again and again. And if you trust the partner, you're able often to sell a higher budget because you can instill confidence in your client that why they're paying that, that it is
Mm-hmm.
worth it. So I think that is a big, big factor. Um, and then also having an agency that's willing to help you look at your bottom line. What are your expenses? What are things that you can do to help make sure that you're being as efficient as possible? Does it make sense? What should you have staff for versus what should you lean into your host agency to use their support services, which may be less expensive than if you were to hire someone. Um, I think those trusted relationships on both sides just allow you to make more thoughtful decisions that can help kind of move that needle a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing that, again, harder to put a number on, but we touched on it earlier, but the brain trust of other advisors that are batting at that level. If you are the biggest fish in the pond at your host agency, you may learn a lot from the people that are newer or smaller in their business, but you don't have as many people, as many data points to work from. And so to have the benefit of other advisors that are moving through the same decisions as you and maybe making different decisions, or know about a hotel opening that you missed. I mean, I think that kind of thing does elevate your overall confidence, which you can't put a number on that, but everyone knows that when you feel confident about what you're selling, you're able to
Mm-hmm.
sell more, you're able to instill confidence in your clients, and not always push for a higher budget, but just make sure that you are delivering at the top end of what you can. So
Mm-hmm.
I think there's some hard numbers in there, but I do think that those all play into what increases an advisor's revenues overall.
So if an advisor listening is like, all right, Margaret, this all sounds
Yeah.
fabulous. Um, how would you guide an advisor through the decision-making process of deciding whether a host agency that is super hands-on and is going to be strategic with them at a higher level of business is not, I don't even think need is the word. Like if
Mhm.
that's what if that's what they're going to tap into, because you have to use it, right? You can't just like, you don't just show up and it just happens. You
Mhm.
have to use it. And so I think the question is more of like, every business owner gets to a point, and it's so easy. And I think that I'm kind of at this point, which is why it like really resonates. Like, it's so easy to just be like, am I good here? Like, do
Right.
I need, like, I've been pushing
Mhm.
and slogging and grinding and like hustling
Yeah.
for 9 years. Like, can we just be good? You know,
Yeah.
like there's a lot of experienced advisors who kind
Mhm.
of get to that point. And I think that as I sit in these emotions, and I have been for about a year, it's like, it's not necessarily about wanting to grow bigger and double year on
Mhm.
year and like continue
Yes.
the grind. It's more about being surrounded by people who are going to enable you to potentially work less and make more, like be
Right.
more intentional and more
Yes.
strategic with
Mhm.
the business. And so I guess like what conversation would you have with an advisor who has like reached this point of being experienced? They've got a great book of business, they've got systems in check, like they're feeling good, and now they're at this crossroads.
Yes.
Do I seek a host agency that is just bare bones, great commission split, gives me my consortia stuff that I
Right.
need, and I just make more money and I just do what I do and I'm off by myself? Or do I get my own IATA? Like, do I not even need that? And maybe we bucket those together in one bucket for the sake of this conversation.
Yes.
Or my current host agency isn't really offering support or strategy for more experienced advisors. So, or do I seek out a host agency that might be a little bit more hands on
Mhm.
at these higher levels of business? Like, how would you navigate that conversation with an advisor? Or like, what questions would you ask them? Like,
Yeah.
what do you feel needs to be a part of that decision making process for each individual advisor to kind of decide the best path for them?
Absolutely. I think that is a great question. And I do want to commend you. The first thing I would say is that this decision should take time. It is not something, I think it's so much healthier to be running to something than running from something. And unless you're in a unethical or really unhealthy situation, to take your time and to do your research and to try and, I think you guys said this in that previous episode, that you don't want to be moving host agencies every other year, because at some point, probably the issue is with how you're running your business or something else internal. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and is not going to be soothed by a new move. Also, the admin
Right.
of that is painful. So I think
Yes.
that would be the first thing I would say is take your time. Go to host agency reviews, read through information, and look at, I think in the question of if you need an agency that is going to provide more support, I would think about how you operate in your day-to-day life. Do you value service? And many people working in luxury travel, that is what they're offering to their clients. And so they understand that the value per dollar is different than the price. And so I think if you are somebody that values service, that values community, that you are a we person, not a me person, you're going to engage, then that is a very good first indicator that this could be a healthy move for you. I also think at some point, to your point, you can only grind so hard and so far and only grow so much without having bolstered healthy processes and knowledge and resources internally. So I think when you start, if you are ready, this sounds so cheesy, but if you want to like kind of instead of pushing out, how do I grow? I think looking inward and at the inside of your business, working, we talk about working in the business versus on the business. If you want to work on the internal side of your business, how you operate with your teams, what partners are you using, and to have healthier margins. But also, we had an advisor that came to us and was like, I want to be able to play golf on Fridays. Can you help me so that I can play golf on Fridays?
Do tell me.
Oh, I
I
know. And I
don't
was
I
like,
don't golf, but I can fill in the blank with like 10 other things.
right, right. Well, this is the advisor that we were like, you love doing FITs. You brings you a lot of joy, which let's make room for that. But you are making so much healthier margins on cruise and it's way less work. And she was like, oh my gosh, well, I care more about being able to play golf on Friday than really enjoying every single piece of this. So she shifted some of her marketing. She shifted some of her discussions with her clients. And now she's selling a lot more cruise and she's golfing on Fridays. And she's also picked up some clients from golfing on Fridays. But I think that when you're ready to have that kind of conversation, as opposed to just, I want to hit this number, I want to do XYZ, because I really think it's very difficult to do that kind of qualitative analysis on your own. So I think that's
Yes.
the other piece.
Yeah.
You get to this size and you're like, something inside needs to be readjusted. I think that's where you get a lot of value from having an agency and a support system that is going to look at it with you and have valuable things to contribute.
So I think what I'm hearing is like if you are truly running a business that not only feels good professionally, but also feels good personally.
Yes.
Like you're not grinding on nights and weekends.
Yes.
You are, you have the time off and the leisure time and the brain space. I think it's not only having time off and physically leaving your office, it's also like, are you turning off your brain when you leave the office?
Yes. Are you refilling your cup anywhere, somewhere?
Right. And if that's really happening already, then go find yourself a better commission split.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Sorry.
Bring it on. That's not the vast majority of advisors that I'm speaking with.
Right.
If we're, I mean, and if they are, I'm just like, I love that for you.
Yeah, great.
That is not my personal situation.
I mean, this is a really hard job and it takes up as much space as you give it and more if you give them a cookie. And so I do think that's a very challenging thing. And it's not neat, there's so much, it depends and so much gray area. And so I think these are things to explore and it's so different for each person of whether or not it's worth it to make this choice. But it's exactly that of, is this bringing you joy? Because this industry is not for the money. We're all probably could be doing a consulting job and cashing a paycheck. You do it because you love it. And if you're not loving it anymore, but you want to, and you feel like it could be there, then how do you bring back some margin and both and personally?
Are there any other kind of examples of what strategic decisions between your team and advisors kind of resulted in? I mean, this example of I want to golf, you sell some cruises, you could sell more, shift marketing, talk to clients differently, boom, it's done. Like that, it makes it sound really, really easy. And it's not really, really easy. I'm sure without knowing any more details than what you just shared, I'm sure that this shift was over time. I'm sure that it was seen over 12 to 18 months or something. Are there other examples you can share to kind of bring these high level philosophical ideas down to earth and be like, this is what this actually means when you have a strategic decision with someone who knows you, who knows your business, who knows your face and life, who knows what your priorities are. Like, this is what this looks like in execution.
Sure. So an advisor, this happens a lot, that advisor started out, they built their fee structure is based on what other people said in the industry. It felt good. They were able to explain it. And that was 10 years ago. And now they feel like it just doesn't really fit. And so, but how do you redo it? There's way different thought processes of this. And so, and at this point, an advisor maybe has added staff. They've added other people to their apparatus. And so it's not as easy as just ripping out the fee structure and slapping a new one back in. You've also got to articulate it to your clients. You've got to think through what can the market bear in your area. Are you selling in your area? Because that may not be the case at all. Your clients may be based all over. They may be based on the other coast. So how do you make tweaks or wholesale changes like that? Or another example is we have a great marketing team, and we had an advisor that was outsourcing marketing support and paying a lot. And it was taking a lot of time still for them to create the content. And we're talking with them about how many, not that marketing is to create leads, but how much of your business is from referral and repeats, and how much of it is coming from how much engagement are you actually getting in your marketing? And is it delivering what you want, or are you paying more than what you feel like you're getting? And so the decision was made to swap to using our internal team, which is a way lower cost, to create some content so they still have a great portfolio of the kind of work that they do, but it's not as, this advisor needed a kitchenette, not an industrial kitchen of marketing support. And so that kind of thing, that's a scary decision to make on your own.
Yeah.
But I feel like those are two good examples of conversations. The fees one happens all the time, but also looking at two different on-sites. If you sell a lot of Italy and you're working with two different ones, but your margins with one are way better than your margins with the other, but you don't know if that partner can deliver the kinds of trips that you're doing with the other on-site, we can help you get ready to have a conversation with that on-site so that you can say, can I move all my business to you and get higher margins? I think those are the kinds of conversations that we like and love to have. And then a lot of it is just confidence building of you feeling equipped to make big decisions about your.
Yeah. And I would say with the marketing topic and the fees topic, I'm sure that before you're helping someone make really big changes, you're talking about whether that's actually the thing that they need to do that's going to move the lever. So many people come to me and say, well, if I could just figure out this marketing thing, or if I could just implement this new fee structure. And then I ask 1.5 questions and I'm like, I don't think a new fee structure is what's needed here.
Right.
Or it doesn't feel like the priority to get in the direction you're describing. So I think I'm sure that that's a big part of your conversations as well.
Yes, absolutely. People that are rearranging the kitchen cabinets when there's a leak under the sink and you're like, let's look over here. Actually, this might be more effective use of your time for sure. I think our jobs are actually in a lot of ways a lot simpler. And sometimes it feels kind of silly because I ask some of the same questions of why is this what you think you need to be doing? And it mirrors a lot of what advisors ask their clients of just getting to that. The underlying situation can often help you get where you want to go a lot.
Right, exactly. It's often just like a few questions that you probably aren't going to ask yourself or that you just don't even know to ask yourself. But an outside perspective is like, well, what are we actually driving toward? What's our North Star? What's the end goal we want to achieve? And then that might shift everything.
Yes. Staff. What kind of staff do you want to hire? Is a big one too.
Amazing. Margaret, thank you so much for reaching out and yes-anding our previous conversation. My inbox is always open for new ideas to you and to everyone. But thank you just for sharing a different perspective and kind of bringing this to the table. And I'm so glad that you did. It's an experience with a host agency that I'm currently experiencing of like support at this higher level. And I think it's really important that advisors do know that it's out there.
Yes.
There are options. And so when you get to a certain level of revenue or a certain phase in your business that you feel like a shift might be merited, that this is also an option that they consider.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me on and being willing to chat. I think it's so nice to talk with you, and just your podcast is amazing. All of your work is really incredible.
Thank you.
To be part of it.
That means so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.